Jay here, Stretford, Paddock. This is the Paper Talk. As you can see, I'm in the studio. You know what to do by now. Get involved in the comments and the chat. We are live. We are going to be talking about a little bit of the response reaction from last night. I don't want to dwell on it, but we've got a couple of quotes from Erik Ten Hag. We've also got some social media stuff we'll get into as well. Some of the players getting a bit of stick in the way they've reacted to it. So we'll discuss that briefly and then we'll move on because, I don't know, it's weird, isn't it? 2-0 down, drawing 2-2. You think, okay, that's not that bad considering 2-0 down, but it did feel a little bit deflating. We couldn't get that winner, especially when we looked like we were going to grab one at the end. But anyway, we won't dwell too much on that, but we'll just speak about it a little bit. We're also going to be talking about, obviously, this. The Super League, back on. Really? I thought we'd done all this. Wasn't that long ago. Do you know what I mean? The Super League was a thing and then we got rid of it. And I say we got rid of it because, let's face facts, it was United fans that got rid of that, yeah? There was loads of protests, but United fans were protesting hard. And they realised, you can't mess with United fans. We can't do this. Let's get rid of it. So I think we should take credit for that. Anyway, it could be back on. So we'll talk about that. We'll also talk about a Qatari investment in Manchester United. It looks like talks are underway between the Qataris and the Glazers, or their lackeys, in terms of some sort of takeover or investment in Manchester United. So we'll discuss that as well. First of all, though, I'm going to get into some of the comments. Good to see the usual suspects in here. Santa Notch, good to see you. James Kelland, Witterbird, Navoma. Loads of people say morning, good morning, good morning. Good to see you guys. Everyone, hit that like button. Don't forget as well to give us a subscribe if you've not done already. Right, first things first, obviously. What else are they going to be? Let's talk about this. Alejandro Garnacho. So, Garnacho, he liked a post yesterday slagging him off. This is on his Twitter. He's lucky that he could get on Twitter last night because I couldn't. I couldn't tweet after the game, which is probably a blessing in disguise. You know what I mean? I may or may not have been about to tweet something about some of the chants the Leeds fans were doing that I may have regretted. Anyway, so some kids tweeted, Garnacho is not fit to start Premier League games. I've seen enough. That's it, innit? That's how you do. When I say kid, I mean a person. I mean, to be fair, he is 18 years old. Probably past it, if anything. Old Garnacho. Do you know what I mean? If he can't do it now, when's he ever going to do it? And he's liked it. I kind of like that. Garnacho's like that. And I kind of like that. The fact that he's just gone, do you know what? Yeah, whatever, liking it. Sort of highlights it, and then people are like, what are you on about? Listen, Garnacho is a raw talent, but he is a talent. You can see he's got the tools there. He was running at the Leeds defence all night. Yes, his end product needs work on, but he's a very, very talented youngster. And he's in the United team at 18 years old. That's no mean feat. Not in this Manchester United team. A few years, maybe not even a few years ago, you know, last season or maybe under Louis van Gaal, at 18 years old, you were thrown in willy-nilly. But to get into this team, it's no mean feat, and I think he's a very good player, and I think he's done a very good job when he's played for Manchester United. He is raw, he's not perfect, I don't expect him to be, and I think it's massively important you get behind the youngsters. Listen, there's nothing wrong with having a little bit of criticism, and to be fair to the tweets highlighted, it's not like it's abusive, as Andy Tate once said about Tom Cleverley. I tweeted him about that, I wasn't abusive, so I get it, but that was probably one of the tamer ones that Garnacho's highlighted. I've seen a few that were a bit much, and it's like, really? Are we really hammering this kid? You know, people calling him awful player, horrible, yeah, just laying into him, and it's just, I don't get it. I think, like, yes, you can have criticism, and we on this channel, we will, if a player plays badly, we'll say it. We're not MUFC. If you say someone's not performing at levels he should do, or someone's had a bad game, that's right. But when you start laying into him, that's when it gets a little bit much. And I think there's some sort of lines that sometimes get crossed. But yeah, Garnacho, I don't blame him for Manchester United not getting all 3 points. I think he did okay, but end product, like I said earlier, needs a bit of work, and he's obviously not happy with some of the stick he was getting, or not happy, he's highlighting some of the stick he's getting, and I think there's every right to do that. There's nothing wrong with that, is there? One player who did get a lot more backing, a lot more support last night was Jadon Sancho. Erik Ten Hag was proud of him as well. You can see there, Jadon Sancho, Erik Ten Hag, proud as Manchester United winger, scores on his return. Good to see him back in the fold. Good to see him getting goals as well. can see there, I am pleased, I'm proud, he did it, said Ten Hag. It is clear, it is a difficult period, but he finds himself out and he needs credit for that. He is a brilliant footballer, and if he can invest in the right levels, he can be outstanding. I will back him. The coaches will and the team will, but finally, he has to do it himself. That's pretty, it's good supportive words there, but it's also rational. He's not getting carried away. He's not being anything, not OTT or being a little bit ludicrous with what he's saying. He's saying, look, he's doing well, but he's got to, it's up to him to make sure that he wants to do it. And he says there, it's in his own hands. If he wants to, he can do it. I think, is that it? Yeah, I think that's what he said. So, yeah, great to see Sancho back in the team. Good to see him getting a goal. He got a good reception the other week when he played for Old Trafford. He got another good one last night. And obviously, he got a good reception when he scored the goal. I think that goes without saying. But I think he could start against Leeds. He had a very good game at Ellen Road last season. It's probably his best game in the United shirt, I think, Jadon Sancho at Ellen Road last season. So I wouldn't be surprised if he starts at the weekend. Let us know in the comments what you think. Do you think Jadon Sancho will start this weekend? What do you make of Eric Ten Hag's comments? What do you make? Where do you stand on the sort of criticism and trolling of players? Do you think that there are lines that get crossed? Do you think it's, as a fan, you can do what you want? I'm interested to see what you guys think. I'm not, the judge and jury on this. I'm not the oracle. It's all about opinions, isn't it? Mike Fisher has been a member of the first team for 24 months. Evening from the Philippines, Jay. SL, still have no interest in it, especially as it's for the benefit of poorly run clubs in Barca and Juventus. Yeah, we're talking about the Super League. We'll get into that in a minute. Santa Notch says, people's self-entitlement and lack of perspective. Poor to blame a kid like Garnacho or even Sabitzer. Yeah, Sabitzer, I thought he did all right. I thought, you could see he's not played a lot of high-intensity football recently. He's played a little bit, but you could see where he got a little bit tired, which is understandable. So, yeah, I'm with you on that one. Abhinav Verma says, I thought, Jay, we were okay. I think in a season, you need matches like this. Glenn F says, morning, Jay, good to see him. Jack Man United, what's he said? It's just a game at the end of the day, and some of the abuse I see players get is disgusting. He also says, pardon the capitals. Yeah, I get that because he's put a lot of capital letters there. Hit that like button. Hit the like button. Don't forget as well, if you're not doing already, to subscribe. Right, should we talk about this Super League? Because the Super League, I thought we were done with this, to be honest with you. You can see here, there's a story Sky broke it this morning. A new look open European Super League could contain up to 80 teams in a multi-divisional format, the competition's chief executive has said. So I believe this would replace the Champions League. Barca, Real Madrid and Juve are sort of heading up the proposal. No permanent members. You can gain entry through league performance. Multi-divisional format. Minimum 14 matches a season is what's being sort of suggested here. Now, when we had the Super League, one of the big bugbears about it for a lot of people was the lack of meritocracy. It wasn't about whether you won football matches or where you finished in your division or your domestic league. It was just about whether you were a big enough club and then you got in a Super League and you stayed in it. It felt very much like them sort of, pulling up the drawbridge or whatever you want to say. Like, just for the big clubs, that's it. Well, the big clubs of Manchester City, that's it. We're going to have this league and you're not going to be involved. Now, I said it at the time, the Champions League, the European Cup, yes, there's flaws in it. I think it's, they look at some of the revamped stuff that's gone on, it doesn't work, they have to change things now and again. It's not perfect. But historically, it is something that means a lot to Manchester United. We've just had the anniversary of Munich, of course. Manchester United were the first English club to take part in the European Cup. Not because we were the first English club to win a title once the European Cup came into existence. Chelsea were. But they didn't enter the European Cup because the FA wouldn't let them, and Chelsea said, OK. The FA said to us, United are in. Matt Busby said, well, we are. He saw the future was the European Cup, which became the Champions League, and it was an important competition for Manchester United to take part in. We took part in it. We made the ultimate sacrifice taking part in it with the Munich air disaster, and 10 years later, we won it. So don't tell me the European Cup or Champions League doesn't mean anything to Manchester United. It probably, I don't sound all like this means more. That's a very sort of scouse thing to say. But there's a big sort of connection between the European Cup and Manchester United, which then became the Champions League. Not to mention the facts as well, the treble winning season, 2008, we've had some fantastic achievements and nights when it comes to the Champions League or the European Cup. So when it was like, oh, well, this is going to be a new thing, a lot of United fans, myself included, were like, really? Why? And then there's this idea that you're in it and you never leave it. That doesn't sit well with me. Manchester United's sort of ethos is almost built on like a phoenix rising from the flames. We've always done that. We've always bounced back, not just Munich, which is obviously the biggest one, to bounce back from that when at one point it looked like, you know, can the club survive after losing basically your entire team? To bounce back from that, then to bounce back further down the line when we were relegated and we came back up, then to go all those years without a title, to only just go and dominate football for the next 20 years. We've always had this sort of thing of bouncing back and being able to sort of take the flaws, take the losses, take the struggles, because they make the triumphs all the more sweeter. And if you're just going to say to people, well, you're not going to have any struggles, you're not going to have any losses, you're never going to have to drop out of this competition or worry about that, you're just going to be in it, I don't like it. Now they're saying that it's going to be a little bit different than that. I still don't like it. I still feel this smells of the elite protecting themselves. People were saying, oh, maybe, you know, City, because they're in the mud, would be up for this, because it's like the Premier League are investigating him. They've got these 115 charges. You don't know what's going to happen there. Maybe they would. Real Madrid in all sorts of financial trouble, despite the fact they still go out and they spend money. Barcelona, just a complete mess. Would they be up for it again? It seems like they are. So you've got big clubs that could go, we'll have a bit of that. It still doesn't feel right to me. This doesn't feel like a positive move. What do you think? Let me know. I want to hear your thoughts. Your thoughts are far more important than mine. Fergal McClellan says, think people missed the great man management of Garnacho from Ten Hag last night. Subbed him as a sub one game, starts him the next, gets ahead of the issue. Great point. He was suffering money with that when he got subbed. It's not his fault when you come on as a sub and someone gets a red card and you get taken off. It happens. It can be very frustrating. Did it happen to Juan Mata once at Wembley? Am I imagining that? My memory's shocking. I'm sure Juan Mata came on as a sub and then came off. Under Jose, they had a little bit of a, not a row, but a discussion, shall we say. So, yeah, as a youngster, you could see the pictures of him. He was obviously gutted when he got subbed off. So, yeah, maybe that was a little bit of it. Right, you're in the next game. Big Rick says, morning, Jay, from down under, and shock, the top two nearly bankrupt football. Clubs are fronting it up. Barca and Juve. I almost forgot that, and they're in some sort of, you know, issue. Just had a 15-point deduction. And now it's like, oh, yeah, the Super League, we can join that. It's just, I don't know, man. For me, it doesn't feel right. But like I say, I'm not an expert. But you can see what's gone on. And you can see the reasoning behind this. This isn't to make football better. This isn't to improve matches or improve the experience of the fans. It's just about certain teams protecting themselves. And do you know what? I might be getting carried away. And this is probably a silly thing to say when you've just drawn at home to Leeds. But I think United will be in a strong position under Erik Ten Hag with the right owners, and we'll get to that in a minute. I think we will. I think we'll be challenging for Champions Leagues and for titles and stuff like that. I don't think we need to join any different league, because we might have looked at it a few years ago when it was first muted and gone, well, yeah, we haven't really been doing anything in Europe, have we, for ages? We haven't done anything. We've barely, you know, most seasons or some seasons we don't even qualify for the Champions League, so maybe this is a great idea. I think times are changing, and I think we'll be okay under Erik Ten Hag. I don't think we need this. What do you think? Santa Notch says, Robbie Baggio was famously taken off when Italy were down to 10 men. That was a fitness reason. There you go. C. Jones says, where has Rashford's heading ability come from? Lad is on fire, isn't he? Brian Casey says, morning, Jay. Another Brian says, Rashford's header was class. It was a very good header, wasn't it? Do you remember when Marcus Rashford didn't score a header for about 3 years? And then he got like 2 in a week. Whatever it was. He's just massively improved his entire game, hasn't he, Marcus Rashford? I think he scored as many consecutive goals at Old Trafford in the Premier League as Rooney has, or since Rooney in 2012. So it's the most since Rooney in 2012. I think so, anyway. Lauren Rose says, good morning, Jay. Glenn F says, I don't think the English teams will go in for it. We don't need it. Josh Timlin says, first time at OT last night. Unbelievable, mate. I'm glad you enjoyed it. It's a bit of a shame we couldn't get a win. But I'll tell you what, 2-0 down, I thought this could be horrible. I thought not only we're going to lose, we could lose. It could end up, being 3-0 or something drastic. But we rallied and we did get the draw. Could have got a win. But we go again at the weekend, don't we, against them, hopefully. If we can beat them at Ellen Road, 4 points from them 2 games isn't the end of the world. Rob Halliday Drum says, revenge will be ours on Sunday. Hit that like button. Let's get to 200 likes at least. Come on, people. Jackson Isse says, I'm happy for Sancho. Me too. Definitely. Bruno Fernandes says, Ten Hag, I don't think it's the Bruno Fernandes, but you never know. I don't think it's got an extra A. Ten Hag says, Benny was working individually with Rashford on his headers. Yeah, Benny McCarthy's coming on here as a striking coach. As part of the coaching team, and he's done it's always weird with coaches because you don't know for definite exactly their influence. So people, when things were going well, would go, Michael Carrick and Kieran McKenna are doing a good job, and then when the wheels come off, people go, Michael Carrick and Kieran McKenna aren't good enough as coaches. You don't really know. You never know, but you can see how someone has improved, and you can see that coincides with the arrival of someone, and you can put two and two together and think, do you know what, maybe that has had an influence. It would make sense that Benny McCarthy has had an influence on Marcus Rashford because his form has gone like that at a similar time to Benny McCarthy arriving. So, yeah, I don't think it's beyond the realms of possibility that Benny McCarthy has had some sort of impact on Marcus Rashford's performances. Yes, the player has to take most of the credit because he's in performing, but I think you've got to give credit to the coaching staff, including the manager. I think the manager's handled Marcus Rashford very well. I wasn't a fan of him on the right last night, though. I'm just going to say that. Far be it from me to question Erik ten Hag, who is easily the most talented manager in the Premier League right now. But Marcus on the right for that first half. Didn't like it. Didn't really do anything. But second half, we see him much better. Should we talk about a Qatari bid? So, revealed. Manchester United have already, revealed and already are in capitals, open talks with Qatari investors, looking to buy the club ahead of February 17th deadline, but a figure of 4.1 billion to 4.5 billion may be more likely than Glazer's 6 billion valuation. Can I just take a sip of this? Thank you. What do you make of that? Now, talks between United and the Qataris to buy the club have taken place. You can see there, discussions between United and the Qataris are already taking place. There's a deadline for the bids set by the US merchant banker's reign. It's a week on Friday. However, that date is being viewed as a soft cut-off with the door left ajar for rival bidders. The Glazer family will probably struggle to attract their desired 6 billion bid for United. According to those within the process, they believe between 4.1 billion and 4.1 billion and 4.5 billion is more likely. The successful bidder could also face a bill of more than 2 billion to redevelop or rebuild Old Trafford. Yeah, Old Trafford, shambolic. It's falling apart. Not fit for purpose. I'm in the minority. I would like to see it rebuilt. Most people want to see it revamped because they've got a strong emotional attachment to Old Trafford. I have too. I still feel that if it gets rebuilt, that emotional attachment would be there, but that's just me. Now, there is sort of a fly in the ointment here, isn't there? You can see it there. The Qataris are also confident there will be no issues presented by Qatar Sports Investments ownership of Paris Saint-Germain. UEFA rules forbid two clubs with the same owners from participating in the same competition. Because PSG could face United in Europe. Well, we do, don't we? We play them almost every other season. This is an area being examined by experts acting on behalf of those involved, and there is a belief that it will not be a problem. The group are described as entirely separate from QSI, which is the Qataris sports investment, basically the Qatari government, and the money would be from an individual fund rather than a sovereign wealth fund. Producer Ethan, you're a Newcastle fan. Is that the case with Newcastle? Yeah. He's right. You can't hear him. He said yes straight away, and he didn't even have a straight face when he said it, right? Because this is one of the things that some of these sovereign states do. They say, well, this isn't a... It's not the government. It's not the owners of the. It's not the country's ruling class or the country's ruling family that own this club. It's this individual investor. Now, I will say this: if we do due diligence and if we check, and if it turns out that there is an individual investor from Qatar, I haven't got a problem with that. I have not got a problem with anyone from any country owning Manchester United. It's not what country you're from. Yeah, it's not where you're from. It's where you're at. That doesn't bother me. I'm not just going to say anyone from Qatar shouldn't own Manchester United because that's just wrong. What I don't want is my club being owned by a sovereign state. I don't want my club being owned by a sovereign state as part of a sports washing enterprise. That's what I'm not about. You may disagree. Let me know. I know some people, and I get the idea when some people go, do you know what, Jay? Protesting against Glazers for 18 years. They're finally going. Just want new owners. Just want to go and watch United. I get it. But for me, there's something about us being another PSG, another Manchester City, another Newcastle That doesn't sit well with me at all. Fergal McClellan says, just a super chat, Jay. Just a super chat to say, we appreciate the work you do, Jay. You do so much on the channel, and we really enjoy listening to you. Thanks, man. Do you know what, Fergal? I appreciate that. I really do. And when you say something that nice, you probably don't even need to put it in a super chat, because I'll probably read it because it's that nice. But no, really do. There's another super chat as well from Fergal. It says, think people miss the great man management. Oh, no, I read that already. Sorry, ignore me. Yeah, I just feel that everything I criticised City for and PSG and Newcastle, it would be the same if it's just the Qatari sports investment or whatever they're called. And it's like, oh, yeah, we're going to buy Manchester United because, you know, that's a new thing we're going to do, and that's going to make everyone love us and ignore all the things that we're doing that are wrong. When we had the World Cup in Qatar, people, including myself, criticised it. I look at the workers' rights, look at the way they treat members of the LGBTQ community. Does that all go out the window because they've bought Kylian Mbappe? No, doesn't for me anyway. Glenn F says, totally agree with Jay. This is why I want Jim Ratcliffe. The thing with Jim Ratcliffe, right? I want Jim Ratcliffe. He's not perfect. You're not going to get a perfect billionaire. Yeah? They're as rare as Rocky Horse poo. But Jim Ratcliffe seems to be a better option than some of the others that are being mooted. Now, it may not be Jim Ratcliffe. It may be a consortium. It may be Jim Ratcliffe with some investment from somewhere else. That could happen. But I just wouldn't want to see Manchester United going down the route that the other clubs mentioned. And also, let's not forget, no disrespect to Newcastle, Paris Saint-Germain, or City. Well, actually, disrespect, I don't care. But Manchester United are a much bigger club than any of them. We are one of the biggest clubs in the world, one of the biggest sporting institutions in the world. Us going down this route would be massive. It'd be a lot bigger than when it happened with City and with Paris Saint-Germain and Newcastle. This is like one of the top sort of clubs in the world going down this route. Who knows? Liverpool are also up for sale as well. So I saw people tweeting Qatar, like saying, oh, looking forward to working with you. When I say tweeting Qatar, I mean like a member of the Qatar political class. Saying, oh, can't wait for you to take over. And all this nonsense from the Liverpool fans. That's up to them. But as a United fan, I'm not about it. Listen, I'm going to wrap it up there. We're going to have the preview is coming up. We're going to have Joe Smith doing God's work on the overlap. Yeah, sat there, surrounded by rival fans, chatting nonsense. Not Joe, them. And him fighting the cause for Manchester United on behalf of Manchester United. So I'm looking forward to seeing that. Always good stuff, the overlap, and especially when Joe's on it as well. No respect to Adam McCall or like either of them. Or even Howson. Howson's been on it. Actually, yeah, Howson's been on it, Joe's been on it, and Mac has been on it. Obviously, they asked me first. I just said, no, I'm not interested. My job is here in this studio with you lot. Yeah, so we'll have that. We'll also have a video. I think we've got a video looking at how great Marcus Rashford is, obviously. So make sure you are hitting like, share, and subscribe so you don't miss out on any of that. Big thanks to everyone who got involved in the chat. Big thanks to all you guys for watching. Don't forget to hit that like button. I'll be back later on. This has been The Paper Talk with me, Jay Motty. Thanks for watching.